Hello, you're listening to WRKE 100.3 LPFM Salem, streaming live online at WRKE.org and on the TuneIn app. Just search for WRKE. WRKE 100.3, celebrating 20 years of ad-free music in the Valley. Before we get started, I would like to promote my social media profiles again for empowerment. We're not here to divide. This is it's a safe space. And under my Instagram and Facebook, you can find me under my first and last name, Anakin Heidrich, ANAKYN, HEIDRICH, ANAKYN, HEIDRICH. And under YouTube and Instagram, you can also find me under the coolest pet in town. And I also encourage you to listen to this and other WRKE shows on WRKE.org. You can tune in on there too. Anyway, so I also, if there's a story you want to share, if there's a struggle you want to share with me or something that's going on that you feel comfortable enough to share, go ahead and share it to me and comment under the post on my social media and my YouTube videos, and I guarantee you I will catch them if you want me to share your stories. I do want you to understand, though, that once you share your story, you assume that risk that it's going to get put on the air. So do keep that in mind. You can also be a co-host by reaching radio@roanoke.edu, but you must fill out the forms. And I promise, if you tell me the story, I guarantee you it will be told sooner or later. I also encourage you to spread the word about this show if you are listening right now. And I also wanted to acknowledge and thank the viewers that have been listening so far. I really, really appreciate it. I really like the comments that I had from the last show. Like, the comments that I was given from several people, like Rebecca and Bianca and Hal's wife. I really, really, really appreciate that. Anyways, I'm going to start with that quote that I start with every show by Burton Braley. If you want a thing bad enough to go out and fight for it, to work day and night for it, to give up your time, your peace, and your sleep for it, if all that you dream and scheme is about it, and life seems useless and worthless without it, if you gladly sweat for it and fret for it and plan for it, and lose all your terror of the opposition for it, if you simply go after that thing that you want with all of your capacity, strength and sagacity, faith, hope and confidence, and stern pertinacity, if neither cold, poverty, famine, nor gout, sickness nor pain of body and brain can keep you away from the thing that you want, if dogged and grim you besiege and beset it, with the help of God you will get it. Man, it always builds my courage up, always makes me feel good every time I listen to it. I highly recommend you get that book. I cannot recommend Live Your Dreams by Les Brown enough. I just given the book to one of my best friends, and let me tell you, it has not seemed to disappoint so far. I really cannot recommend that book enough. I also recommend books like The Road Less Traveled by M. Scott Peck. I also a few other books that I recommend, but I'll discuss those later in the show. But if I were to recommend another one after that Make Your Bed speech I mentioned last week, I would say it's the short book for Make Your Bed by Admiral William McRaven. And if you haven't seen the speech on YouTube, I highly encourage you to do so. It's phenomenal. I listen to it every single day. You will not be disappointed. Anyways, I wanted to talk about sharing responsibility amongst people in society. I believe one person's problem is everybody's problem. It's like, we're all family. We're all part of this big family. We're all part of God's great big family. When you think about it, we all have a role to help each other out and relieve suffering. My mom always told me to relieve suffering whenever and wherever possible, no matter what. It's never a waste of time. These people, we are all related in some way, and we all deserve some sympathy for our struggles. We all owe it to each other to help each other out. We were not put together to be divided. We were put together to be united. We were not put together to be divided. We were put together to be united. Anyways, I think I found a quote that would really fit this idea about like people sharing responsibility and helping each other out among neighbors. Anyways, here it is. Sorry. We live in a world in which we need to share responsibility, and that sounds easy to say. It's easy to say it's not my child, not my community, not my world, not my problem. Then there are those who see the need and respond. I consider those people my heroes, and that was by Fred Rogers. I love this one. This is one I found when I was kind of scrolling on Facebook, and I know what you all are going to think about it, about the social media. I'm not going on there on the negativity, on the doom scrolling. This is like a quote that I saw just one day popping up, and I loved it. It was perfect. It really captured the essence of what I wanted to share. So there it is. We live in a world in which we need to share responsibility. It's easy to say it's not my child, not my community, not my world, not my problem. Then there are those who see the need and respond. I consider those people my heroes. I also, right now, I'm not political in any means, but I am advocating for the No Kings protest. I'm going to be there later today. I believe you speak truth to power. I don't believe there are crowns. I don't believe in hierarchy. I simply believe in humanity. I simply believe in community and everybody getting up and fighting against oppression. That's as far as I go, and I'm gonna go. I'm gonna be there. I highly encourage you to go. That's serious. Anyways, no, like my mom told me, part of why I'm going is to help relieve suffering. And I was always told by my mom, as mentioned earlier, to relieve suffering whenever and wherever possible, no matter what. And this No Kings protest, talking about there's no hierarchy or no crowns, it kind of brings me to another quote that I've wanted to share by Ernest Hemingway. And it said, "There is nothing notable in being superior to your fellow men. True nobility lies in being superior to your former self." So it's not about who you are among, it's what you were among your younger version. Who you are now versus who you are then is more important than who you are now versus who someone else is now. Judge a person for what he is, and that's the way it is. That's the way he stays, and he only gets worse. But if you judge him for what he could be in a positive light, then he'll become more, and you don't have to seek him. You don't have to ask him to seek a door to a higher order, for he will seek it himself. There's no need to ask him for the front door. He will go over there without asking, and if he doesn't get it, his very nature will demand one. He will come and take the hinges off. So again, please, don't judge someone for what they are now. Judge them for what they could be, and be positive about it, because we're not really in a place to be judging people negatively. We, like I said in my last show, we never really know what someone's going through. We get so caught up in our dreams, we get so caught up in our goals, and we're just so hurried up and caught up in trying to make a dream come true that we don't look at anything else, and every slight inconvenience makes you grouchy and makes you grumpy, and you have to learn to let it go. It all happens for a reason. I do not believe in coincidence. I was told by a coworker at Scratch once, his name was Alex, and he said, you need your bad days, because those bad days make you appreciate the good days. You start getting upset over those minor inconveniences, and when you start having those bad days, you start realizing those inconveniences were never inconveniences. It was just a part of the day-to-day life. So don't take your good days for granted, because I promise you, the bad days will wake you up to what you've been paying attention to. I I always think of this quote that the psychiatrist Sean McGuire, who played by Robin Williams in that movie Good Will Hunting, says. He says, we all have bad times, Will, but that always wakes you up to the good stuff you weren't paying attention to. So I promise you, never, ever, ever take your good days for granted, and don't even take your bad days for granted, because you need the bad days. The bad days are, character growth and character building. Hard times and pressure creates diamonds. You want to make diamonds. You need the pressure. You have to go under that pressure. You have to know that you have hoops that you have to flip through. So understand, we all have bad days, but those bad days wake you up to the good stuff you weren't paying attention to. Man, I love that, man. I love me some Robin Williams. Anyways, and here's the other thing. Nobility is, when I just said earlier, when Hemingway said nobility does not lie in being superior to others, it just lies in being superior to your former self, being better than you were the day before. That also applies when you're out there doing good deeds and you're going out there trying to do it for recognition, and it totally dismantles the purpose. Jim Carrey, I saw something he likes to share. He shared once about that, about sharing and publicizing your deeds. And this is it. Imagine for just a minute that you are financially struggling and in the unfortunate situation of being homeless, and suddenly someone comes with a camera to film your face in your precarious situation to give you a meal. So they're recording and you have to take it because you are hungry. Imagine that feeling. Please stop doing that. If you're going to help someone, do it with kindness and not your ego. Trying to do a good deed for attention defeats the purpose. People don't wait for attention to do the right thing. True integrity lies in doing what is right, even when no one is watching. Anyways, no, it's just, don't be going around there being flashy and recording your deeds. Just let it be. You don't need to publicize and make your deeds viral. Your actions will speak for yourselves, and all you're really doing is making people uncomfortable, and people have experienced it and know of this so much that they'll be able to see right through that. If you didn't have that camera in front of your face, you probably wouldn't have been that enthusiastic about it, and you probably would have just passed them by while they were struggling. So don't do it with the phone in the face. Don't go around recording your deeds. Do it because it's right. Because if you don't, there's no integrity there. It defeats the very purpose of what you're doing, to go around making it known and telling everybody about it. It's one thing if someone asks, but don't go around telling people who didn't ask and didn't need to know and didn't really want to know. Just let the actions speak for themselves. They'll come and thank you. You'll get thanked and you'll get paid back in due time in some shape or form. Anyways, I just reread a book for the second time after quite a few years. I love it. I miss it. My only regret is I haven't read this book sooner. It was money well spent for me. I read it in my English class back in high school, and it's called The Sun Does Shine by Anthony Ray Hinton. And the book is about how he was falsely accused of 2 homicides that occurred in 1985 and 1986, and he was taken away for nearly 30 years for these 2 crimes, which he didn't commit, and both took place in Alabama. His freedom was taken away, but his character couldn't be broken. They've given him a faulty ballistics report. They gave him a terrible and horrible attorney. He was given very little help, and he endured cruelty, and he had basically been separated from his mother and his friend for essentially the rest of his mom's life, and he believes his mom's death was partly due to his wrongful conviction. And what made it even worse was he was a black man in the Deep South, and he was against an all-white judge, all-white jury. He was against, he was against the faulty ballistics report, and he passed the polygraph test, the lie detectors. He had everything to prove his innocence, and everything that proved his innocence was left out of the court hearing, and he was constantly denied assistance again and again and again ever since that first court hearing in 1986, and ever since those 30 years he was in prison on death row, incarcerated for something that he didn't do. While he did make friends, while the outside world saw him and everybody in there as criminals, they saw each other as acquaintances and neighbors. He learned that if he couldn't go home anytime soon, he had to make a home where he was. He learned that, in that dark cage, in that dark 5x7 room, that's when he had to be his very strongest. And like I said before, you have to be your very, very, very strongest in the darkest of moments. It's a sad book, but there's so much hope to it. The other thing I wanted to add, the gun they said he used for the crimes they claimed he committed wasn't even fired for over 25 years at the time, and the bullets didn't even match. All this, of course, was left out. The judge and the police deliberately held information that proved the man's innocence, all because he was a black man in the deep south of Alabama. So let me tell you this: if you think racism isn't still existing, take a look around you. It's existing everywhere. It's under the surface. It's not seen in skinheads. It's not seen. It doesn't have to be seen in pitchforks and torches. You can find it just about almost anywhere. If you lack a filter, learn one, please. If you don't think it's still an issue, look around you. It is definitely a problem, and watch what you're saying too. It doesn't matter what your intention was. What matters is how people perceived it. And let me tell you, he faced one slur after another. He faced oppression, and it came to a point where even the very guards on death row started to feel bad for him. And even the very guards that were supposed to be the ones that strapped him to the yellow chair and electrocuted him and executed him, even they started to feel wrongful about committing this act, because he was always constantly bouncing for 30 years, wondering every day was going to be his last day. He had to do everything he could to keep his hope up. He said, he prayed every day. He prayed in the power of God. He prayed to his mother. He prayed to his brother Lester. He prayed for the people that wrongfully convicted him. He prayed for the people who incarcerated him. He prayed for the guards. He prayed for his inmates. He prayed for the 54 executions he saw during his time there. He prayed for all of them. He still remembers all their names in that book. He faced the lies for years, and many times almost gave up hope, and he never once thought about taking his own life. He knew that his time would come, and he said he would rather die proving his innocence than find a permanent solution to it, a temporary problem, as they call it. So, he's almost the epitome. I would consider his wrongful conviction of tough times never last, but tough people do. Tough times are not here to stay. Tough times are here to pass. He refused to accept life without parole because he would rather have a chance at fighting for his freedom and innocence than die seen as a murderer by the outside world, something he knows he didn't do. And all this was because a state notorious for the wrongful incarceration of black men refused to admit they made a mistake. All they wanted to do was pin down a man, get the charges over with, and basically, it all kind of boiled down to the money, and the lawyers and the attorneys he had would constantly shake his family down and constantly went to his mama because they knew his mama would do anything to get him out of that death row, and they knew it wouldn't lead them anywhere. They were just trying to get 15,000 here, 10 grand there. It's kind of awful, and it says a lot about. I hate to say it, but it says a lot about who we all are. And we all play a part in while we are products of our environments, we all also have choices and change. I do not believe those are excuses. I do not believe that just because you're a product of the environment, that makes an excuse. If you lack a filter, learn one. You have choices. Do better. If you don't know better, learn better. When you learn better, do better. So please, I beg you. No, but anyways, like I said, if there's anybody who is the epitome of tough times don't last, but tough people do, it's Anthony Ray Hinton, and I cannot recommend his book, The Sun Does Shine. And he also mentions his lawyer, Brian Stevenson, a very, very famous lawyer who doesn't charge his victims for their services, trying to get he's openly advocated for the death row penalty as a famous TED Talk that I've watched. Amazing. I recommend you go watch Brian Stevenson's TED Talk. He was openly advocated against the death penalty, and honestly, I agree. I'm against it, because whose right is it to take each other's lives? Killing another person doesn't take away that killing from the past. We are all more than the worst thing that we've done, as he has always said. The story is truly an inspiration to me, because it makes me think, this man survived nearly 30 years on this, witnessed 54 executions, didn't even get to see his own mother as she passed from sickness, and he still came out on top, and he still came back with his friend. And that's why I thought, if he can survive all this and make it through what he made it through, I believe anybody can get through anything. If you survive those odds, you can survive anything. That's the way I resolve it. If you can get through that, you can get through anything. And anyways, I recommend that book. And the other book I recommend is Just Mercy by Brian Stevenson. And Just Mercy was written and published the year before Anthony Ray Hinton was released from prison, and part of it does mention Hinton in the book, but it primarily focuses on his other case with Walter McMillan, who was also wrongfully convicted of murdering a man in the Deep South. Again, kind of similar situation. And in this, there was a 6-year-long battle fought to get this man off death row for 6 years. The time, the difference doesn't matter. The point is, you can never get those, no matter what happens, that you can never get those 6 years back. You can never get those 30 years back. And all you can do is all you can do in those situations, it taught you to pray for your enemies, because they weren't born that way. They were raised that way. They were raised to incarcerate. They were raised to kill. They were raised to, be racist. They were raised to discriminate. So don't blame them entirely, but also give them the choice to change and give them a chance to be better by you being better, by you setting a better example and a bigger example for them. Anyways, I recommend that, and I actually also recommend the movie adaptation too. It's kind of crazy. I'm not one for recommending too many movies on radio, but I would recommend it. But no, this is all that I took from it. If you ever hit hard times, you must remember this man survived 29 years on death row for a crime he didn't commit, and he was in a 5 by 7 foot room for 29 years, dark, and the only light passed through was the little window up above. If he can get through that and have the friend Lester that he had and the loving mama he had, you can get through everything. Stop being average, because you aren't. Like Eric Thomas said, you need to work out your plan. You need to always figure out ways to get out of your situation. And if you can't get out of your situation, start singing until you're up to your neck in mud, because it will get better, like Admiral William McRaven said. Tough times are not here to stay, just to pass. And also, over the weekend, I saw a really, really neat, really fabulous documentary. It's documenting one of my favorite actors of all time, John Candy. And I tell you, I'm a diehard John Candy fan. I can't even name you all the movies that I currently have of his in my collection, but I love him because the man he was behind the cameras. There was nothing wrong. He had nobody who hated him. He was a genuinely respectful guy. He was a good father, in spite of his struggles, and nobody really had anything bad to say. And I think part of the problem was his kindness was taken advantage of in the show business industry, and I think that's something we need to fix even now. We need to stop treating kindness as a weakness and stop seeing it being a pleaser, trying to please people, trying to make people happy. We should stop constantly trying to see that as a weakness. I don't, like Keanu Reeves said, I do not want to live in a world where being kind is a weakness. Anyways, he was one of those people who constantly gave in, and he said it himself, once you win, you gotta keep on winning. Anyways, his impact to me is insurmountable. He's like that father figure I'd wanted for a while. He's just someone I looked up to. He was a family figure to me, more than father figure. His roles were heartfelt. You didn't just see his character, you saw him in it. You saw it through his speeches, you saw it through his performances. You knew that was really just him playing a character more than the character playing him, as we've typically come to expect. His performances to me were gravy compared to the genuine kind man he was, and he always was risking his comfort and his satisfaction for other people's happiness. And he even treated Macaulay Culkin like a son. When Macaulay Culkin's father was a tyrant and became abusive, he was always checking up on the people he knew. He wasn't just an actor in his films. He helped the crew out. He helped the people out. He's the kind of person, I aspire to be, and I don't believe that is impossible. And I should also mention something pretty neat about this. At the time, he died really young from his heart attack at 43 in 1994. Only a pope and a president had been the reasons for the Interstate 405 being closed for a funeral procession. Only a president and a pope. And then when he died, the interstate shut down for his funeral procession. Just how crazy is that? Just for three people, an actor, a president, and a pope, were the reasons an entire interstate was shut down. Interstate 405. When I found that out, when I was watching that documentary, I sat there and I was just thinking to myself, wow. Imagine if I was around. I wish I was kind of around for that. It kind of makes me homesick for a time I wasn't even there for. And also, if you're not familiar with him, or John Candy or any of his work, I highly, highly recommend many of his films. Some of my favorites I like to think of are like when he's worked with Dan Aykroyd on The Great Outdoors, when he worked with John Hughes on Uncle Buck and Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, and Home Alone. When you think John Hughes, you almost think John Candy. John Candy worked with him the most out of any other actor. He had 9 films with John Hughes, no matter how big or small. But if I had 3 movies of John Candy's, I would recommend it would be The Great Outdoors, Uncle Buck, and Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. They're all goofy, and they're all heartfelt. They all have the power to make you laugh, and they also can almost make you cry a little bit. Anyways, so I also wanted to kind of review a little bit of what I've discussed in my last show about the 8 habits that disciplined people carry. And again, these people always win in the long run, even when they lose now. And again, this was an article I found, and it makes you realize, discipline is a marathon, not a sprint. Number 2, there's structure over willpower. Number 3, you recognize awareness. Number 4, protect your focus and energy. Number 5, embrace the discomfort. Number 6, delay gratification. Number 7, progress over perfection. And number 8, align your actions with your core beliefs. Make everything that you do fuel for what you ultimately want to achieve in the end. And if you constantly work with that perfection mindset, I hate to break it to you, but it's not going to get you very far, because you're going to face fears and trepidations, you will. It's not you might, it's you will. You have to pay attention to the wills and mights. You will face fear, and you will face trepidations. So you have to understand that it's all about the progress you make, because we're all human, we're not perfect, and we have to, I'd say the perfectionism mindset is almost like synonymous with the fixed mindset, because in the fixed mindset, as soon as you face the first blunder and the first failure that you'll inevitably face as you're working towards something, you will be immediately shot down and you will be immediately hurt. So, again, progress over perfection is progress builds resilience. Everything is a mile marker to how strong you've been. Every no is a no closer to a yes. Think of it like a road leading to a yes. Every mile is a no. And it also shows how far you've gone, how hard you've worked, and how resilient you've had to be to get what it was you want. Learn to delay your gratification. Understand the cost of what you're doing, the opportunity costs of something negative that you're doing that could be taken away from something more important that you could be doing now. Like I've mentioned before, I also say, embrace the discomfort. Discomfort also builds resiliency. Having to face those no's and those rejections and those setbacks will build resiliency. The discomfort is necessary. The hoops you must flip through, you have to, your disappointments and your rejections will come, and the fears and the no's and all of that will come by the truckload. That and the anxiety, you just have to accept it for what it is, because if you don't, you'll never get there. If you know all the strategies and you know everything about it, but you don't believe in yourself and you don't embrace that discomfort, it just won't happen to you. You also have to learn to protect your focus and energy. This is kind of goes hand in hand with delaying gratification, because if you delay something now, delay a small reward now for a major reward later, it will pay in the long run. So that kind of goes to protecting your focus and your energy, because if you try to use your focus and energy on something, on some minor reward now, you won't have the focus or energy for that major reward later, which is the dream that you ultimately want to achieve. And also recognize the awareness, recognize that you have flaws, recognize that you, how can I put this in a way? So like I said, recognize your awareness, and basically understand, it all goes hand in hand with understanding the cost of something now over the cost of something in the long run. I also emphasize the importance of structure over willpower. Willpower is hard to resist. If you have routine, you're less likely to give in to your willpower. You're more likely to stick to your structure and stay than try to resist it. The structure builds resilience. It's like building with willpower is like building a house on sand. There's no steady foundation, but structure is like building your house on your rocks. In dirt, there you will have all the foundation that you need, and you will stay tidy, and you won't collapse when you discover yourself giving in at the slightest temptation or the slightest bit of negativity. And then of course understand discipline is a marathon. It is never a sprint. It's discipline stretches over time. It is not. There is no race to success. There are no shortcuts to success. You can't just run your way to success. And achieving your dreams and achieving your goals is not a overnight deal. It's not something you just do overnight. These things take time. I understand that your time will not. What do you want to put it as? Understand your time will come. It won't come now, and sometimes that might even mean having to do something you don't want to do right now, or take some part, or take some job you don't want to take right now to get to where you're going later. Anyways, and I also wanted to review that, make your bed speech. Again, I think it's important to share. I think it's important to drill. And again, I recommend the speech. I encourage you to look it up. Number 1, make your bed every morning. It's a small task, but it builds encouragement, and if you have a miserable day by chance, you will come home to a bed that is made. Number 2, you find someone to help you paddle. Nobody achieves anything alone. Number 3, measure a person by the size of their heart, not by the size of their flippers. Kind of goes hand in hand with not judging a book by their cover. Number 4, you always keep moving forward, knowing that life is not fair. Number 5, understand that you will fail, and you will likely fail often. Accept that as it is a part of your life. Every no is a no to a yes. Number 6, slide down the obstacle head first. Sometimes you can't always go with caution. Sometimes you have to go in fearless. Number 7, don't back down from the sharks, because you will face them. If you hope to complete the swim, as McRaven said, you will have to deal with them. Number 8, understand that you must be your very best in the darkest of moments. Yes, like Anthony Ray Hinton and his conviction and the sun does shine. He had to be his very best during those 30 years, and it paid off, and his resilience he showed, especially when his lawyer, Brian Stevenson, was there to help him for some time. Number 9, you need to start singing when you are up to your neck in mud. As I always believe, good music never fails. That's what he had to learn to do. And, when Anthony Ray Hinton witnessed all those executions, he banged on the bars, shouted these people's names, so that they knew that they were not alone, especially not in their last seconds. And number 10, never, ever, 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 never, ever give up. You respect everyone, and you need to know that life is not fair, and that you will fail often. You might fail often, but you will fail often. Anyways, let me go ahead, and I'm going to go ahead and read another part of this book to you. The Live Your Dreams book. Anyways, let's do this. Page 39. Anyway, so it's number 2. It's like saying you got to be hungry. And it starts off with a quote by Calvin Coolidge, and it says, "Press on. Nothing can take the place of persistence. Talent will not. The world is full of unsuccessful people with talent. Genius will not. Unrewarded genius is almost a proverb. Education alone will not. The world is full of educated derelicts. Persistence and determination alone are omnipotent." One of the worst kept secrets in my old neighborhood was that young Les Brown was a heavy load upon his poor mama. It was true. I was a mischievous boy. I would not come in for dinner. I'd climb under moving railroad cars and swim abandoned rock pits. I'd play checkers with the old men and talk a lot of trash to them. I'd sneak with my buddy Bo, under the fence at the Canada Dry distributors and swipe bottles of ginger ale. And in school, I was in the class clown. School was boring to me, and the more boring it got, the more mischievous I became. I released pigeons during assembly. I threw food in the cafeteria. I was always in the principal's office, and they were always calling Mama in. At one point, she told me if they dragged her down to the school again, she was going to take a frying pan to my head. That got my attention for a while, at least. You see, Mama hadn't heard about using psychology to get the problems locked into a child's subconscious mind. She seemed to believe that the problems were locked in my behind, and she was determined to beat them out of me like dust out of a rug. Mama was not completely out of step with modern behavioral psychology, however. For instance, when I did something to anger her and she beat my behind, she would say positive affirmations such as, "You're going to be something," and "There ain't nothing wrong with you. A hard head makes for a soft behind." My mother believed that I would amount to something someday, but hers was certainly not the majority opinion in the neighborhood. All throughout my youth, I heard people, particularly Miss Catherine, our nosy, snuff-dipping neighbor, tell my mother that I was never going to amount to anything. Miss Catherine got on my last nerve. Whenever I get in trouble, she'd come over there and say, "Mamie, take him back to the welfare department." But my mama, bless her, didn't listen. Her friends and many of my teachers may have told my mother differently, But she believed that I would become someone worthwhile, and she made me believe it too. And now when life knocks me down, I say, life, I'm getting back up because I make my mama proud of me. When I'm getting up because all of my life I've been told I would be a loser. They said I wouldn't make it, so I'm going to show them that I can. I believe that when life knocks you down, you should always try and land on your back, because if you can look up, you can get up. I get up to prove these people wrong, to prove them that Mama was right in taking me in and keeping me in when they told me to send her back. I have that hunger within me to make something of myself. That hunger is my motivating force. Wanting something is not enough. You must hunger for it. Your motivation must be absolutely compelling. You may not need the threat of a frying pan to your head or a tree switch to your behind, but we all need some form of deeply rooted, powerful motivation. It empowers us to overcome obstacles so that we can live our dreams. A drive to achieve. I flew back to Columbus, Ohio to give a speech recently, and I ran into a very hungry young man. One of those people whose attitude and energy tell you that he will be somebody, that success is indeed inevitable for this person. I had spoken at a breakfast gathering in Columbus, and afterward I had a meeting in the airport. The meeting had run long, and I had missed my plane. I was walking to the ticket counter to get a new ticket when this young man approached me. "I'd like to talk with you, Mr. Brown," he said. "A friend of mine told me that you could help me go to Morehouse College." Now, when I was a radio commentator in Columbus, I developed a reputation as someone who could help young people accomplish their goals. Often, I would help them connect with someone in a position to provide the assistance they needed. "Why do you want to go to Morehouse?" I asked. "I want to be a minister, sir," he replied, "and that is where Dr. Martin Luther King went to school. Morehouse has a reputation for developing great orators and ministers, but it costs $9,000, and I only have $1,500. As he spoke, a question came to mind. "How had this young man found me?" I asked him. "Well, I knew you were in town for a speech, but I couldn't afford a ticket to get in," he said. "I knew you would have to leave sometime from the airport, so I've been out here all day walking from gate to gate looking for you." This was a hungry young man. What powerful motivation this kid had. What determination to walk around the airport all day looking for me. He had no idea what time my flight would be leaving. There was no doubt in my mind I was meant to miss my plane so this young man would find me. Somebody said coincidences are God's way of staying anonymous. "Young man," I said, "it's done. When you have that kind of determination, you won't be denied. I might not be able to get you to Morehouse personally, but with your determination and my contacts, we will be hard to stop." This young man is the sort of man whose determination will not allow him to be denied his dreams and goals. When people have that kind of motivation, when obstacles are not a factor, when only the dream matters, they make things happen. The universe has no choice but to yield to that sort of energy. Some people are virtually unstoppable. They are, as rapper MC Hammer says, too legit to quit. I remember Buster Douglas, the unknown fighter from Columbus, Ohio, who beat heavyweight champion Mike Tyson. While in his fight with Tyson, Douglas was knocked down hard. Lying on that canvas, he was a man with powerful motivation to get up. At that point, Douglas was being beaten out by life in general. He was on the verge of becoming a bum. He had only recently been released from an alcohol recovery center. His mama had died. Someone close to him had a terminal illness. He got up because he was determined to prove that he was not a bum. He got up and he won because of the deeply rooted power of his motivation. It came up from down deep. Douglas became the heavyweight champion, and then he had to defend his title against all the challengers. The first and last was Evander Holyfield. The Buster Douglas who fought in this match was a different man. As a champion, he had a guaranteed purse of $24 million even if he lost to Holyfield. His motivation in the second fight with Holyfield was a great deal less than when he was fighting for survival in that first match with Tyson. Buster lost the second fight. I believe that if you have to have a powerful reason to get back up and fight back in life. That is why you must find a powerful motivation to drive you. It has to matter deeply. Otherwise, you will not have the strength, a purpose to persevere. I asked a friend recently why he was not working on his dream to have his own business. He said by the time he got through working 65 hours a week, he didn't even have enough energy left to act on his goal. He had put it aside. And let me tell you, he's not alone. There have been numerous studies and reports indicating that Americans are working longer hours. And this was back in 1992, mind you. It has actually been getting a little bit worse recently, if you ask my opinion. Anyways, they're enjoying their work less and living in fear that they might be losing their jobs every day. If you live like that, you need to stoke the fires of your hunger. That's not living. Feeding a fire within you, living for a dream, is real living. In the course of my conversation with his friend, I got him thinking about his dream of having his own restaurant. I added some coals to his fires. I fed them too. His hunger was rekindled because he realized that starting his business was the way to get off the treadmill. Life does not always present us with an ideal situation in which to pursue our dreams. That is where hunger comes in. We must motivate ourselves to do what we must do to get on and go on with our lives. My friend is still working those long 65-hour weeks, but he's found the time to go after his dreams. He is hungry again, so he goes deep with it and finds the strength to stay after it. He focuses on his goal. He stays motivated by remembering his dream. He has his life in gear again and his dream back in his sights. So have you ever had the experience of getting in your car, starting it up, pushing the accelerator to the floor, to back out of the driveway, and the car doesn't move? Then you realize you got your emergency brake on and release it, and the car just glides out. Well, many of us go through life with brakes on. The brakes of fear, brakes of procrastination, brakes of unworthiness, the brakes of negative thinking. These prevent us from giving all that we have to give and sharing all that we have to share. You cannot live as though as you have 1,000 years to accomplish your goals. Maybe you are here today, but maybe gone tomorrow, maybe even gone today. It is necessary that you follow your dream today. One day I talked on the phone about a project to a very creative person. Marianne was her name. The next day, her husband called to say she dropped dead. I went to visit her husband the day before their funeral, and I helped him go through all of her unfinished dreams. It was one of those saddest things that I have ever had to do. Marianne had great talent, but she was insecure about it, and those insecurities kept her talents from flourishing. Marianne had written so many things that were never completed or published. All of these bits of her life were just lying around in her office, unfinished and unshared. She had wonderful stories and profound poems strewn about the house. I remember a play that she had talked of writing, found notes in it, but she never sat down and done it, and so it will never be written. We all lost out because Marianne's talent was unfulfilled. Marianne's writing talent might have inspired you or me to greater accomplishments, but not now. How much time do we have left? You don't know. Marianne didn't know either. Now she is gone, and she has taken her greatness and talents and abilities to the grave with her. Develop the hunger in the sense that you've got to get up and use up your time on this planet. Use what you've got. Share whatever you brought into this life. When you get discouraged, and you will, it takes hunger to develop the courage to try again and never quit. Some people are naturally hungry. Some have hunger imposed upon them by circumstances. If you are not naturally motivated, you're going to have to learn how to make yourself hungry. I can help. I'm a good cook. To help build hunger, I highly suggest you try these tips. Develop hunger by taking responsibility for your life. Know that it is up to you to accomplish your dreams. Get the feel for this at first by setting small goals and accomplishing them. Set a goal of walking, jogging, or riding a bicycle for half an hour every other day. Do it for a week and then increase the time. Feel the satisfaction it gives you, and notice the effect it has on your weight, an overall sense of self-control and approval. Nobody cares as much about you and your dream as you do. Review your goals twice every day. Be focused on achieving them. Reflect on what truly motivates you. Develop a strong sense of urgency in your life. Take actions now that will move you forward towards your goals. If you want to change jobs, put your resume together today and mail it out to a company you'd like to work for. Isn't that a satisfying feeling? Just taking an action like that makes you feel better about yourself. Develop courage. Let yourself feel your fears that you're holding back and mentally push them aside. Afraid of water? Enroll in swimming lessons now. Master that fear. Remember the cowardly lion in The Wizard of Oz? He sang a song to overcome his fears. Courage. So devote yourself to operating on a massive, relentless scale in order to accomplish your dreams. Instead of making 10 sales calls, make 50 and watch the rewards come in. Develop the conviction that you can accomplish your goal. Your level of belief in yourself will inevitably manifest itself in what you can do. Read inspirational materials such as biographies of people who overcame great odds to succeed. If they can do it, then so can you. Tap into your spiritual awareness and contemplate your mortality. Write your obituary and predict your accomplishments at the end of life. Are you satisfied with what you put down? There are few motivations as compelling as the concept that sooner or later death awaits you. If possible, talk with elderly people who are close to you. Gently ask them what things they wish they had accomplished. No one wants to die. No one wants to die with his or her potential unfulfilled. Get acquainted with successful people and ask them what drives them and how they achieve their goals. You will be surprised at how flattered they will be by your attention. Listen to their ideas and experiences. Make them your role models. Develop your communication skills. Take public speaking courses on leadership and communication. We live in a society in which these skills are perhaps the most important for all. And last, smile. Project a positive image. Say yes to your life. A person's smile reflects how he or she feels inside. Your smile will give you a positive countenance that will make people feel comfortable around you. Did you know that the muscles that create a smile trigger a smile chemical in your brain that makes you feel good all over? So smile. Feel good about your dreams. It is important while you pursue your dreams, you tune out distractions and self-defeating thoughts. Let your hunger for your goals propel you on a dead-ahead course. I had the goal of losing some weight because my blood pressure level was up and my cholesterol level was high. When I'm on my diet, as I prefer to say, while I'm managing my food choices, those little diet demons tried to take control and sidetrack me, and all too often I'm ashamed to say I give in to them. I am weak in the presence of edible temptation. I'm the kind of guy who carefully peels off all the skin of his fried chicken, but I eat the chicken and the skin too. Those diet demons are devious. I really do have to work on the motivation for dieting, though I had it going not long ago when I saw a performance of the Alvin Ailey dancers. I saw the way women reacted to those guys up there on stage with their washboard stomachs, and I decided I was going to have a washboard stomach too. After seeing all those women in the audience making eyes on those skinny guys, I was motivated. I went to the fancy sporting goods and fitness store and bought myself the best jogging suit they had. I bought some of the best workout shoes. I topped my fitness outfit off with a state-of-the-art, orthopedically approved, ergonomically correct sit-up board. To make sure I make good use of that sit-up board, I put it right on my bed so I could roll out right out of bed, right onto it, and do my 3 sets of 50 repetitions first thing every morning. But it didn't work. My stomach got fatter instead of floured. It started to look more like an outboard than a washboard. So I put the set board back into the box and took it right back to the fitness emporium. I walked up to the salesman and said, I want my Benny back. The setup board did not work. He looked at the board, he looked at me, he looked at my stomach. Did you even get on it? He asked. Yes, every day, and it didn't work at all, I said. Well, we never had this happen before, the sales clerk said, and I got my money back. The poor sales clerk, I told him the truth. He just didn't ask me the right question. You see, I did get up on the setup board every morning. He should have asked me what I did when I got on it. I ate on it. Buttered pancakes and sweet rolls in the morning, some sweet potato pie at bedtime. Oh, those demons. Every time I try to lose weight, they remind me of a story I read one time. They say a skinny guy was hit by a truck and killed. If he'd had a little more weight, he might have lived. So I have a bucket of chicken, half a barrel of fun less. And I do. That distracting inner voice can be awesome, but if you have true hunger, you can stand up to it. Although you may have stoke that hunger every day with little pep talks about the importance of your goals. I do that by writing down my most vital goals. Obviously, getting in shape is not yet on the list, and reading them every morning when I get up again and at night, right before I go up to bed. That builds strong hunger. After I get up in the morning and review my goals, I start writing out my ideas. When you're real hungry for your dreams, you have to get up real early to get everything done. I jot down ideas that might enable me to reach my goals, and I try not to judge them or too much at first. I just write and evaluate later. Sometimes I write 15 or 20. Some days it's more difficult than others. Some days my most powerful idea is to stay in bed and sleep a couple more hours, but I get up because I know that one day it can change your life. With the powerful hunger and your dreams driving you, you will be surprised at the ideas that will come, at the people you will be able to attract, at the opportunities that will unfold. You will be able to see things that you won't believe you couldn't see before. Those things may have been there right in front of you the whole time. And I'm going to close off with that Burton Braley quote again. And it says here, if you want a thing bad enough to go out and fight for it, to work day and night for it, to give up your time, your peace, and your sleep for it, if all that you dream and scheme is about it, and life seems useless and worthless without it, if you gladly sweat for it and fret for it and plan for it, and lose all your terror of the opposition for it, if you simply go after that thing that you want with all your capacity, strength and sagacity, faith, hope, and confidence, and stern pertinacity, if neither cold, poverty, famine, nor gout, sickness nor pain, a body and brain, can keep you away from the thing that you want, if dogged and grim, you besiege and beset it with the help of God, you will get it. And I would say that just about covers it all for today. I've had a crazy week. I've had a busy week, and I've recently was hit with some terrible news, but I'm trying to keep my head up through it all. Like I said, I'm trying to be strong. I'm trying to be my very best in the darkest of times, even when it's hard. So even I have to learn to follow my own advice, and I struggle. That's what I want y'all to understand is, like I said, I'm human. I'm not perfect either. I'm struggling through things. I've struggled through stuff too, and there are many times where even I've failed to live up to my own very advice. I am ashamed to admit that it's true, but I've learned now, more important than ever, it's very important to be my very best in the darkest of moments, to be my very, very strongest. It's no death row, but it doesn't take death row, and it doesn't take wearing a Navy SEAL uniform to understand the importance of this lesson. Everybody's struggles in this world take place in different situations, but they were all the same. They were all familiar. They all teach the same lessons. So anyways, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to close this one up. So I do want to, again, I encourage you. I thank my viewers. I thank everybody for listening. I ask listeners to get in touch, comment, suggest topic ideas through our email address, radio@roanoke.edu, or through our Facebook page and WRKE. I also encourage you to promote my social media profiles through Instagram and Facebook under Anakin Heidrich, ANAKYN HEIDRICH, and under Instagram and YouTube as the coolest pet in town, exactly as it sounds. Also, to listen to this show and other WRKE shows, go to WRKE.org. Follow the WRKE Instagram and Facebook page. I also encourage you to send your stories of your struggles, whether you're going through them now or you have accomplished them, through my social media pages, and make sure, just understand that once you tell your story, it's going to be put on the air if you want to clarify that with me, because you assume that risk. You the sender will assume that risk. You reach me by commenting on my stories to the posts that I make on any of these social media accounts. I will get them, I promise. You can also be a co-host and tell your story, but you must fill out your forms. I can have up to 2 guests at a time, but reach Roanoke at roanoke.edu to be a co-host. Visit visit those social media pages and comment your story. I will guarantee you will be told sooner or later. There's no chance, it's a guarantee. But anyways, WRKE celebrates 20 years of providing an alternate ad-free choice to local listening experience. You're listening to WRKE 100.3 LP-FM Salem, streaming live online at WRKE.org and on the TuneIn app. Just search for WRKE. Thank you and goodbye.